Holy cow. Every cookie she touches actually crumbles into a million pieces. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, I didn't think I would be saying this today, have the biggest Hollywood flop in history. Cookie Queens is the biggest box office disaster ever.
Guys, I'm really beginning to smell the desperation on Meghan Markle's spread. And there have been more ads that pop up, including ads for things, guys, that she's not selling.
Meghan Markle just got the kind of Hollywood wake-up call you cannot hide behind a glossy photo, a red carpet smile, or a carefully polished Instagram post. Cookie Queens is out, the numbers are in, and the big story is not simply that the documentary had a weak opening. The bigger problem is, what happened after Meghan and Harry attached their names to it, promoted it, showed up for it, and helped turn themselves into the most recognizable faces around the project?
They don't boost a project, they drag a project. Will the embarrassment never cease? At least for Meghan Markle, it seems unlikely. I don't know why she put herself out there so much on the promotional tour, as it looks even more like a failure on her. She owns it now.
Because after all that attention, people still did not show up in meaningful numbers. The film opened across 446 theaters and took in roughly $328,000 over the weekend. That works out to around $735 per theater. You do not need a finance degree to understand what that means.
The per-screen delivery for this film is way less than $1,000, making it completely not viable for any more cinemas to take it on. And remember, this is a couple who had international publicity around this movie, and they could not make more than $800 per theater.
Hundreds of screens, worldwide famous executive producers, months of publicity, Sundance, interviews, photos, headlines, and still, the seats did not fill.
I actually did get to see the movie on Thursday. They had Thursday previews for this.
Oh my God,
well.
did you? Tell me everything.
I certainly did. Yes. So I was in the theater with only 2 other people.
But here is where it becomes brutal. A compilation of internet cat videos beat it. Yes, cat videos. Cat Video Fest played on fewer screens and still pulled in far more money.
The people chose the cats beat the cookies. This is another failure for Harry and Meghan. They've mistaken fame for popularity. Now, these two have got enormous name recognition worldwide. They've got the backing of some big players in the Hollywood production area. They trade off the royal brand, and yet they still cannot produce anything that is successful. So this is another thing they've done that's bombed.
People could sit at home and watch cats fall off sofas for free, but enough of them actually bought cinema tickets to see a cat compilation that it sailed past Cookie Queens. How do you spin that? You can blame the summer release. You can blame documentaries being hard to sell in theaters.
And the thing is, it's all well and good for that industry expert to say, well, these documentaries fly on streaming services rather than in cinemas. My question would be then, Meghan, you've got a first look deal with Netflix. Why couldn't you get them to broadcast Cookie Queens? Because it's rubbish and they are done with you.
You can blame a small marketing budget. And to be fair, all of those things can matter. But there is one question Meghan cannot avoid now. If your name is supposed to be an asset, where was the lift? That is the part that should worry her. Meghan has something most producers would kill for: instant recognition. She does not need to introduce herself.
A compilation of the best cat videos submitted by fans that landed in 10th place in the box office charts. Harry and Meghan's Cookie Queens is outside the top 10 at number 13.
Before we continue, one quick thing. One thing I've realized is that most families don't have their important information organized in one place. That's exactly why I recommend the Family Vault, a simple printable and fillable organizer where you can keep everything from important documents and insurance to medical information, passwords. You'll find the link in the description, or you can simply scan the QR code on your screen. Now let's get back to today's story.
She does not need to fight for a headline. Put her name on a project and millions of people immediately know who she is. But fame and popularity are not the same thing.
But I'm sorry. Spare me that nonsense. This is Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Every mainstream media outlet have been talking about Cookie Queens. This is publicity, and still no one showed up. And I'll tell you why. These two are a drag on any project.
And fame and purchasing power are definitely not the same thing. That is the trap Cookie Queens just exposed. And there is another awkward detail here. Cookie Queens is not a Meghan and Harry documentary. They are not the stars of the film. The camera follows the girls. The story is supposed to belong to them. Yet when the publicity machine started rolling, whose names dominated the headlines? Meghan and Harry.
Sometimes on really hard days, once he said, "Yeah, but my love, even if there's a storm happening, above the storm, the sun's always shining." And that's a perspective that only comes when you think about zooming out a little bit. So I think when you really zoom out and think, my gosh, how many things have we gone through that have felt hard, and then you still get
Okay,
through
that's
them?
enough
Or
of
how many
that.
goals-
That's enough of Meghan. Oh my God.
Whose appearance at Sundance became part of the story? Meghan and Harry. Who brought the giant celebrity spotlight? Meghan and Harry. That creates a strange sales problem.
They did the red carpet there, all the interviews, and nothing was going to save it.
But you're the face of it and
Yeah.
you're doing the promotion and it bombs. Well, you wear that.
That is a terrible place to be. You become too famous to stay in the background, but not popular enough to guarantee a sale. And Meghan made that risk even bigger by promoting the film herself. Had she stayed almost invisible, a weak box office could have remained a small indie film story. Instead, every disappointing number now comes with her face attached to it.
Tony, the Anthony Bourdain biopic, it opened to roughly the same or slightly more money, right? So $349,000. But check this out. It was only in 6 theaters, which meant it took a massive per theater average of $58,000. Whereas Cookie Queens is taking less than 800.
That is why I keep coming back to one brutal question. Did the Meghan Markle publicity help the movie? Or did the movie simply give Meghan Markle another publicity cycle? Those are not the same thing.
Sussexes' latest flop proves they only have one talent, telling tales about the royals. The disinterest in Meghan and Harry couldn't be more obvious.
But Hollywood does not survive on headlines. It survives on people actually watching. And retail does not survive on Instagram likes. It survives on people actually buying. Which is exactly why the next part of this story is so interesting. Because while Cookie Queens is struggling to pull people into theaters, As Ever is pushing harder for attention online.
Guys, I'm really beginning to smell the desperation on Meghan Markle's spread as she continues to flail and fail in selling her brand.
New sponsored clips have been circulating. Product emails have been landing more frequently. Honey, spreads, marmalade, gift boxes, serving ideas, summer boards, desserts, another pretty table, another spoon, another jar. And look at what As Ever has been doing with that attention. Recent sponsored material has included a honey unboxing and a 3-spread gift set.
And then we've also gotten in the first 9 days of August, guys, 4 emails. The emails are increasing in frequency and they're getting as inane as the last one.
Marketing emails have pushed orange marmalade with toast, homemade ice pops, cake glaze, roasted vegetables, vinaigrette, and then another summer grazing board loaded with fruit, cheese, bread, and spreads. That is a lot of work to sell one very basic idea. Please use this jar in more places.
Because the fundamental problem of Meghan Markle's brand is that she has food products and she does not know how to sell food products, and neither do any people on her team.
The Hollywood project is getting hammered at the box office, and at the same time, Meghan's consumer brand is fighting for more space in people's feeds. So what happens when attention is no longer enough? You expand. And that is where the strange As Ever clothing story comes back into view.
She's paid thousands of dollars in ads just even this month, just in August, to get As Ever in front of the same eyes as those following and probably others as well.
A few months ago, something very specific appeared on the As Ever website, clothing size charts. Not one vague line about merchandise someday, actual sizing information. Adult sizes reportedly ran from XS all the way to 5XL. There were also separate guides for children and toddlers. Then, just as people started noticing, the charts disappeared. No clothing line launched. No big announcement followed. No rack of as-ever dresses suddenly appeared.
What we've seen here is that Meghan Markle being attached to the film, much like any other freaking project she's attached to, does not actually help it. She is box office poison.
The pages simply vanished. Now, maybe it was nothing more than a website mistake. That is possible. Maybe somebody uploaded a template too early. Maybe a developer clicked the wrong thing. But come on. An adult unisex chart from XS to 5XL, plus children's sizing, is weirdly specific for a company with no clothing for sale. And after Cookie Queens, that little website mystery suddenly looks much more interesting.
We have spoken in recent weeks and recent months about a whole load of flops from the Sussexes, but this is box office poison. This is going to damage their chances of ever getting a Hollywood deal again.
Because what if Meghan is already searching for the next category? Food has limits, jars expire, inventory has to move. A spread sitting in a warehouse does not become more valuable with age. Honey may last longer, but even then, a lifestyle company cannot live forever by showing the same breakfast table from 12 different angles.
She has products that probably expire next year, and she can't figure out how to move them. And I'm sorry, but this is not really, I think, conveying something to the audience. And again, it feels like with Meghan and as ever, it's like Groundhog's Day. I'm getting the same information again and again. Put it on bread. I get it, Meghan. Make a charcuterie board. I get that.
Clothing is different. A sweatshirt does not expire next spring. A t-shirt can sit in inventory. A tote can be sold for years. And most importantly, merchandise can sell the name itself. You do not have to convince someone that your raspberry spread tastes better than the jar at their local supermarket. You just have to convince them that they want the logo. That is a much simpler celebrity business model.
And Meghan Markle also made the cardinal mistake of not actually being a creative and not thinking beyond herself, because she did not sign up for this film because it was good, but because it fit her agenda. And that will always go south.
If somebody buys a ticket because they are fascinated by the Sussexes, they are not getting a Meghan and Harry movie. If somebody wants a small documentary about Girl Scouts, the constant celebrity noise around the executive producers can swallow the actual subject. So, the famous names can create attention without necessarily creating the right audience.
She inserted herself so much, the film's success or failure now really does rest on Meghan Markle. Because she's the most well-known name, she put herself out in front of everything. And so its success, she could take credit for, but its failure, she equally must take credit for it.
Meghan and Harry were not hidden in the credits. They showed up at Sundance. They stood on the carpet. They promoted the project. Meghan spoke about it. Their names became part of the sales pitch. If it had exploded, do you think their involvement would have been treated like a tiny footnote? Of course not. It would have been called a triumph, a new chapter. Proof that Archwell had finally found its groove.
You cannot get more of a disaster. And by the way, what does Hollywood care about more than anything else, Jobbo? They pretend to care about morals. They pretend to care about the woke ideology. No. Hollywood cares about money, box office receipts. And that's why I don't think Harry and Meghan should ever have done this.
So when it crashes, you cannot suddenly pretend the famous names had nothing to do with the expectations. That is why this flop hits differently. This was not another streaming project where nobody outside the company can see the real viewing data. This went into actual theaters. Tickets had to be bought. Screens had to be filled. There was a simple test. Would people leave the house, drive to a cinema, and pay to watch it? The answer was painfully weak.
Cookie crumbles, as you said right in the beginning there. It's absolutely crumbled. I mean, I can't believe that they've got anybody around them who... I can't believe they've got any advisors at all, because they simply go ahead and do whatever the hell they want. And this was going to be a flop from the beginning.
And I know what some people will say. It is a small documentary. It was never supposed to compete with a superhero movie. Fine. Nobody expected it to beat Spider-Man, but it did not need to beat Spider-Man to look healthy. It only needed to show some heat. Another tiny release that weekend made roughly the same total money while playing in only a handful of theaters. That is the comparison that really stings.
We have Cat Video Fest. So yes, a video on cats made more than Cookie Queens. So, and it was in fewer theaters. Oh, that's bad.
Cookie Queens had hundreds of screens to spread its audience across, and the audience was still thin. So ask yourself this. What exactly did the Meghan Markle name add at the ticket window? Attention? Absolutely. Sales? That is much harder to prove. And that brings us to the bigger problem.
So Tony here at number 12 was only in 6 theaters. Like, look at the difference, how huge a difference there are between, like, these are basically the same, but these are radically different. I love this comparison here.
For years, Meghan has operated like visibility itself is the product. A new photo appears, everyone talks. A new launch appears, everyone clicks. A new interview appears, everyone debates it. She can dominate a news cycle without selling a single thing.
Yet again, Meghan Markle is exposed in a major lie, and not enough people are talking about this, because, Jobbo, you'll remember, one of her big moans about leaving the British royal family was this claim, and it was a lie, that they didn't let her wear colour. Do you remember that? It was this thing of, I had, the Queen, the late Queen, the horrible late Queen, how dare she, Jobbo, had to be in the bright colours, and I had to be in the tonal, sort of the beige clothing. Oh, guess what, Jobbo? That was her choice, as she has now admitted in this video, because that's how she likes to dress. Look at this.
Which Girl Scout cookie best describes your personality?
Oh, trefoil. It's classic and classic.
I can see trefoil for
It's
you.
like classic. It's sweet. And also, it's all the same color and I like tonal dressing. It's the worst answer in the world.
I mean, how stupid is she?
So is Meghan preparing to move as ever beyond food? We do not know yet, but the size chart did not invent itself. And this is why I would be watching that website very closely. Because Meghan's biggest commercial problem right now is not a lack of ideas. It is that every idea seems to arrive with a huge cloud of publicity, and then the public has to decide whether it actually wants the thing being sold.
Cookie Queens is officially a box office bomb, and Meghan Markle has no one else to blame but herself, because she very stupidly put herself out in the forefront as a huge driver for this film. She was in a lot of the promotional appearances, hanging out with the Girl Scouts, and it was very much like Meghan put her stamp of approval, like, watch this movie. Isn't this going to be great? But the numbers have officially come in, and they are officially not good.
Cookie Queens just got that test in the clearest possible way. People knew about it. They still did not rush to buy tickets. That should terrify anyone building a business around celebrity attention. Imagine being able to get your project mentioned across entertainment media, royal media, celebrity pages, social media, and YouTube without spending blockbuster marketing money. That is an enormous advantage.
In fact, Meghan Markle's Cookie Queens was beat by a film that only is in 6 theaters. Her film is in 446. It still did far, far better than Cookie Queen. And this is an example of why I think Hollywood, Netflix, and everyone is taking 2 giant steps back from Harry and Meghan, because attaching Meghan Markle to your film does not make it better. It makes it worse.
Now imagine having that advantage and still getting beaten by a cat compilation. That is not a visibility problem. It is a conversion problem. And as ever lives or dies on conversion, you can send 4 emails. You can send 10. You can buy sponsored placements. You can film honey being unboxed in perfect lighting. You can arrange blackberries on a board until every berry looks like it has its own publicist. But eventually, somebody has to hit buy.
Looking at Meghan, how does this all reflect on her? Is that Meghan can fundamentally do none of those things. And not every actor can, not every creator can. But you have to have the drive to think a bit differently, to maybe change up your voice. Again, how you walk, how you interact with people, how you move, how you touch, like all these different things that you have to think about, especially if you're playing a real life person. And Meghan fundamentally cannot do any of those things.
That is why I do not care how beautiful the feed looks. Show me demand. Show me customers coming back without being chased by another email. Show me a product people talk about because they love the product, not because Meghan Markle's name is printed above it. That is the real test.
Some very big players gave them a red-hot chance to succeed. You've got the likes of Netflix and Spotify giving them enormous amounts of money And you've really got to question the judgment of the people in those positions.
You do,
because
but
that money has been squandered.
And here is another issue. Food is a vicious category for a celebrity lifestyle brand because the competition never ends. Go into any supermarket. There are 20 jams. Go to a farmer's market. There are handmade preserves. Open Amazon. There are gift sets everywhere. Walk into a luxury food store. There are premium jars with beautiful packaging and established reputations. So, what exactly is As Ever's reason to exist after the first wave of curiosity wears off? That is the question the company has to answer.
They are a one-hit wonder. Their own soap opera is the only one anybody wants to watch.
Not with another soft-focus garden clip. Not with another sentence about simple pleasures. Not with another board covered in fruit and cheese. With a product people actively want to reorder. And this is where Meghan has a decision to make. Does she double down on food and prove As Ever can build repeat customers? Does she turn it into a broader lifestyle store? Does she move toward clothing, home goods, accessories, and merchandise that can survive on branding alone? Or does she keep launching new categories every time the last one loses momentum?
Kind of speaking of main character syndrome, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, yep, As Ever liked Meghan Markle's own post. Meghan Markle liked her own post. Oh man, the cross-referencing with As Ever is just insane, guys. Now, it's starting to get really bad. As Ever is not doing well.
Because that last option is the dangerous one. A brand can become a junk drawer very quickly. Jam over here, honey over there, wine somewhere else, maybe a t-shirt, maybe children's clothes, maybe a candle, maybe a tote, maybe whatever appears on the website next month. That is not a clear identity. That is throwing products at the wall and hoping one becomes the hit. And Meghan cannot afford another project where the publicity is bigger than the demand.
Can you just imagine the smug looks at Netflix? They would be feeling very satisfied with themselves because they're not saddled with any of this dross that Harry and Meghan turn out anymore. They've got first option if they choose to take it, but I think they're just hanging around for when there's a divorce documentary. Don't laugh, it could
That
happen.
one probably will rate well.
Cookie Queens has already handed critics the perfect image. Hundreds of theaters, a famous couple attached, and a cat video compilation walking away with the better weekend. It is almost too ridiculous to write. But the humiliation is not really about cats. The cats are just the punchline. The real story is that Meghan's name was everywhere around the project, and that massive recognition did not turn into a strong audience.
The promotional tour was everywhere. But again, I don't really think it's producing any good moments. At this time, it feels like the more we see of Meghan and Harry, the less we like them.
That is what Hollywood notices. Studios can forgive one weak project. Every producer has one. Every actor has one. Every company has one. But companies start getting nervous when they see a pattern. Huge attention, weak conversion, another pivot, another relaunch, another new idea. And that is why As Ever matters to this story. It is Meghan's chance to prove that her audience is not just watching her, it is buying from her.
I'm afraid Cookie Queens is just the latest proof that when it comes to creating films or TV that people want to watch, the Sussexes are talentless. Unless, of course, they are pulling back the royal curtain and talking about their very favourite subject themselves. Oh dear. It's hard to go on a worldwide publicity tour flogging your How We Met story and then ask for privacy. And it must be gutting for them that when they do try to produce promising projects which aren't personal, no one cares because they don't have the skills to create the magic which would make them fly.
Before we continue, I want to mention something really quick. Organizing your family's important information is one of those things most of us know we should do, but we keep putting it off. That's exactly why there's the Family Vault. It gives you one place to organize your important documents, insurance, medical information, passwords, and more, so everything is easy to find when it's needed. You'll find the link in the description, or you can scan the QR code on your screen. That's all. Now let's get back to today's story.
Those are two completely different things. A person can click on a Meghan headline because they love her. They can click because they hate her. They can click because they are curious. They can click because they want to see the outfit. None of that means they want a $12 jar sitting in their kitchen. And none of it means they want a movie ticket.
Huge drops in numbers here. And between Friday and Saturday, you got less and less. That's pretty bad. And again, the crazy thing is, Meghan Markle has no one else to blame but herself here.
That gap between curiosity and cash is where celebrity brands collapse. So if As Ever really does move into clothing, the first question will not be whether the shirts look nice. It will be whether anyone outside the core fan bubble buys them after launch week. The second question will be even tougher. Do they come back? Because Meghan has already shown she can create a launch moment. She can get the cameras. She can get the articles. She can get people arguing. What she still needs to prove is that she can build something that keeps moving when the headline disappears.
She did perhaps the stupidest thing she could have done in this scenario is make the film all about her.
And right now, Cookie Queens is a brutal reminder that the headline can be huge while the room is empty. That is why this weekend matters more than the raw dollar figure. Forget the exact rank. Forget the spreadsheet. Forget whether one report puts it a spot higher or lower. The simple picture is enough. A Meghan and Harry backed documentary opened on hundreds of screens. A cat video compilation opened on fewer. The cats won. Now the spotlight swings straight back to As Ever, where more promotion is hitting feeds and that mysterious clothing size chart is still sitting in the background like a giant question mark. What is next? More jam? More honey? More emails?
The movie ranking number 13 on the box office chart despite massive publicity, and that is simply not good enough, of course, for a film that had this much hype and had these two human beings behind it. Indeed, the docu-film about Girl Scouts is being trashed by Hollywood insiders.
Or are we about to see Meghan try to reinvent As Ever again before the current version has even proved itself? Tell me what you think. If As Ever launches clothing, would that look like smart expansion to you? Or would it look like Meghan running toward another category because food is not delivering the excitement she expected? And after Cookie Queens, do you think her name still helps projects commercially, or has it become a magnet for attention that does not translate into sales? Because one thing is now impossible to ignore. Meghan Markle does not have an attention problem. She has attention coming out of her ears. The problem is what happens after everybody looks. Cookie Queens just gave us one answer. Now, As Ever has to give us another.